Hello everybody, welcome back to the Martin and Shithead Show. My name is Shithead Dave.
I am Double A Ron.
And joining us today is from Frustrated Wrestling, Dr. Nick.
Hey everybody.
We're going to talk about a big topic today in geek culture. We're going to talk about zombies.
Oh, I love zombies.
Zombies has reached its way across the entirety of geek culture, whether it be video games, film, comic books, you name it, we've got zombies.
You gotta love
even wrestling
zombies
has
ate
zombies.
my neighbors.
Wrestling has zombies.
Wrestling has zombies.
Yeah, I remember that. Didn't ECW have zombies?
ECW had like a zombie.
Okay.
They had, the Legion of Doom. Like, the Temple of
Undertaker's
Doom.
a zombie.
Undertaker's supposed to be a zombie.
Randy Orton's a zombie.
Well, that's just his. That's just his personality.
Now, when we think of zombies, when I think of zombies, I think of like not the zombie that got turned from like a hamburger. Like, you know, the Zombieland, he ate a bad sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
When I think of zombies, I think it was like a horrible government experiment gone wrong.
Oh, so you're a part of the infected zombie culture.
Yes.
Huh? I like my zombies dead and slow.
Yeah, right.
You mean like someone had died and then they come back to life?
Some voodoo shit.
Okay, okay.
You know, Romero zombies, who revolutionized the American zombie.
Like Mark Mero?
No, not Mark Mero. George A. Romero.
Oh, okay.
Romero.
Let's talk about what we would do. If us three...
I was going to say, let's throw it right in there. Let's start off with the hot thing. Let's start off right with how would we survive?
Let's say
I know
right
how
now.
I would
Here at the Broke Ass Podcast Network.
It broke out right now. We just heard it on the news. We're sweating like three fucking people who sweat.
Yes. We're sweating like people who sweat.
I couldn't think of anything.
Sweating to the oldies.
We're sweating to the oldies in here, recording our podcast. What do we do?
The scenario is it breaks out right now, mass hysteria, and we're recording the Broke Ass Podcast Network.
Now, do we have the option to go somewhere really quick and get like guns?
No, we are just right here.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now. There is no what ifs here.
Yeah.
There is no we had time to prepare. There is right now a zombie. We see zombies, like walking down the street right now.
And if anybody doesn't know, the Broadcast Studio is in my bedroom upstairs. That's where all the magic happens.
This is the Broke Ass. Yeah, this is Broke Ass.
So it's we're on
we
the
got broken
level.
ass air conditioners, broken ass.
Well,
we're on the second level.
I'd have to say the number one thing I would probably do is make sure my phone was charged.
You're not going to need that anymore.
Well, if I need to...
Cell phone towers will still be up.
Yeah, they'd still be up. Maybe. Depends on how
unless the zombies are tech savvy and they realize they need to cut our communication.
It might be a zombie from the Geek Squad.
You'll have communication until your plan goes out and you have to redo it.
Yeah, because all the people at the Verizon got killed.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not on an automatic, is it? Where your payment plan is shit. So you would continue to have service, right?
As long as they don't shut it off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Well, we all know the many methods to kill a zombie.
Yeah.
Through the head.
Well, there's one surefire, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what weapons would you use? Would you be a weapon, like a gun specialist? Because the main thing about weapons is people like to say you don't have to reload a blade, but you do have to resharpen it. But
like I would go for like shovels.
So blunt objects.
Blunt objects.
Yeah.
Because granted, like a hoe or a shovel, you could continuously keep going at them. Now, granted, the thing with the guns, eventually you're going to run out of ammo. Plus, unless you get a really good shot on them, they're going to keep coming.
See, for me, I'm going medieval. I'm going to go find...
You mean like a sword? And
I'm going medieval. I'm going to go find, which isn't as hard as you would think, but I'm going to go find a sword.
Well, I don't think Shithead Dave's has chainmail in his garage.
No.
I do. I don't have chainmail in particular, but I've got swords and axes at home.
Oh, shit.
So I'm going home.
We need to start recording this podcast over at Aaron's, just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Because all I got are some DVDs, and that's going to help me.
I don't know. Munchie might be able to do something.
Yeah, Munchie.
My pug. First off, I would get really super duper high because I don't want to be sober during this shit.
Oh,
and then I would just enjoy myself.
No, in all honesty, I can see myself worrying about my loved ones at first. But after a while, and it wouldn't take me very long, I don't think, after a while I would become desensitized and I would become more like the Zombieland character.
Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just enjoy myself killing things.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I just, in all honesty, all the anger and rage I have pent up, you mean I can just take it out on mindless zombies? Fuck yeah, I'm having a field day outside.
If I had the option to get to a certain place, I would do what he did. And I would find a really kick-ass vehicle, go to a gun store.
Painting number 3 on it.
And load up on a shit ton of ammo, a shit ton of guns, explosives, and I would have fun with it.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. You got to think about that, though. If you go that route and you go somewhere where you can load up on that, 50,000 other people in the area are going to do the exact same thing. Everybody thinks that they should do that. Instead of being smart about it, which, in all honesty, the smart person would stay the fuck in their home.
But don't go up in the attic, no matter what you do, because you'll starve in there.
Yeah.
You won't be able to go back down. You know what?
If you happen to have it, a fallout shelter.
I would say grocery store, too. You completely, eliminate any way somebody can get in and just stay there as long as you can.
Yeah.
Right, but you've got, you'd
have to have a team for
I
that.
live in Danville, right? So if everybody goes and we have, 7 of them to choose from. But let's say everybody wants to go to Meyer. There's how many people who live in Danville?
Yeah.
Okay, at least 10 to 20,000 people are going to have the exact same idea. We'll hole ourselves up. Right, that's where all the food is, but how long do you think a Walmart can feed 20,000 people? Especially, especially if you don't have to pay for the food?
Well, if I had a bunch of food, I'd probably go to Vintage Villains. Because if I'm gonna live out my last days on Earth, I'm playing some fucking video games.
Oh, true. Yeah, you go to a game shop.
Yeah.
But
Meyer and Walmart has video games.
Would there be electricity?
Yeah, I mean, unless people panic and just drive right into the fucking power station.
That's what I think people will do. They're going to panic.
Well, if you look at every zombie movie, pretty much there's always 2 different types of people. They react to it as, oh my god, what am I going to do? They do stupid shit, like he said. They run their car into a power pole.
Every disaster movie, as soon as a thing happens, what's the very first thing you see in a movie? A dude dodging a fucking car coming at him.
Yeah. And then you have the really good person who is like, okay, this sucks, but I got to make a plan here.
Yeah.
I got to get supplies. I got to get food. I got to figure out where, there's a good place to go. And the best part about it is, and we all know this from experiences with the movies, get like an army going.
Well,
get a bunch of people with the same frame of mind.
Let's put this out too. I don't think that zombies are gonna be like we see in The Walking Dead, where they roam in herds, because it doesn't make any sense. Because as a zombie, if your only thought is to find food, you're not gonna walk in the same direction as everything else.
True.
You're not all gonna follow one.
True, yeah.
It's not gonna be like that. So a fence and a house can go a long way.
Who I'd be most afraid of is the people not infected and not dead. I would be afraid of the motherfuckers with the guns, going gun crazy.
Well, yeah, because people are already, they'll rob you for the $4 you have in your pocket.
There'll be looting, there'll be random murders, anything, rape.
That's why I said the smart person would
that just sounds like daily life in Danville.
But that's my point, though. The smart person would just stay the fuck in their house.
Yeah.
Because, I also don't think that it's going to be as hopeless as, a lot of these places show it. Our military, as a whole, they're going to be more organized than they are on television.
Well, supposedly...
and movies.
They've never actually came out with it because it would be, silly on their part, but...
The CDC has a plan.
Yeah, they've had a plan for years in my version of getting infected, in that way of a sickness.
me and my roommate talked about this. It wouldn't be hard to put somebody in a zombie-like state. If you could mix another disease with mad cow disease and zombie.
Mad cow disease is the one thing they think is going to lead to an eventual zombie outbreak. But you remember a couple years ago, America thought they were in the zombie outbreak when this bath salts thing came out.
Well,
People were eating each other's faces on bridges and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered.
I did too. I was like, oh, great.
No, as soon as I read it. People were eating people's faces, and that one dude, he got shot 10 times and still came at the cop.
Yeah.
But that's just drugged out people.
That's just PCP.
Well, you also have what they call retard strong.
Right.
You heard of that? Where, the person is just so stupid. Literally, there was a guy one time on Cops. He got shocked 6 times with a taser.
Yeah.
And he still kept coming at him.
Well, I was watching that.
You don't feel it.
Yeah.
I was watching that one. There was this one thing on that True TV channel where this ex-boxer, it was an Golden Gloves boxer, he got pulled over and he didn't want the ticket or whatever the point was. The cop shot him in the stomach twice and he still knocked the cop out.
Damn.
He got shot in the stomach twice. He still walked over and beat the shit out of the cop.
Here's an interesting thing when it comes to zombies. In order to blend in with the zombies, do you think that would work?
No.
Like if
No.
you made yourself...
Absolutely not, because first of all, if you make yourself into a zombie, some redneck's gonna fucking shoot you with a shotgun because they're gonna think you're a zombie. And second, zombies, like, you think they would have the ability to sense if something's dead or not? You know, they eat the flesh of the living, so they have to have some.
Well, what
You
Or
see, in
sense.
The Walking Dead, they're saying that it's smell. So if you cover yourselves in the smell of the dead flesh, then they're not gonna fuck with you because they want living flesh,
so
not dead
that would
flesh.
cancel out the getting shot by some random dude if you put paint on and shit.
But that's the biggest thing, though, and that was something that The Walking Dead did exploit. Most dangerous thing isn't going to be the mindless zombies. Because that's the thing, they're mindless.
Yeah.
We as a human populace, I mean, even if it's only a handful of us, are smart enough to figure out, I'm just going to build a big-ass ditch around my fucking house and I'll be fine. Because they're mindless. They're going to walk right in, and they're going to fucking fall in the hole, and if you got spikes down there, they're going to die, you know? And then you clean it up so it doesn't fill up.
When the whole idea of zombies, and they say mindless zombies, there's been different versions where they're still intact. Where, like, I don't know if you've seen it or not, it was a movie called Warm Bodies. Did you see that?
Yes.
Where they still had all of their senses. They were still there as a person. They were decaying eventually. But they still had their brain, all their motor skills.
That's the infected people.
They would walk around to a certain extent, but they could still function as a human being.
But there's the other thing. That's another argument people don't bring up. Eventually, it's going to die out. Like, zombies, they're decaying.
Yeah.
They are rapidly decaying flesh. Like, eventually, they're just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So if you can stay alive long enough, which is why the other human aspect is the biggest deal. If you can stay alive for 3 to 5 years, they're gonna die.
Yeah. You know
because their body won't be able to function. The human body, which is what zombies are, they're dead, but it's still a human body, and a human body cannot function without nourishment.
Right.
So if you can stay alive long enough, you'll survive.
What scares me more than a zombie apocalypse is
Jehovah's Witnesses?
the movie The Happening. The meaning behind it was there was a toxin in the air given off by plants and just the oxygen off the trees. It would make people suicidal.
Yeah.
That stuff, freaks me out more because I've always had a fear.
What scares me more than zombies is movies like The Purge.
See, The Purge is actually, to me,
that's a human
idea.
But that's not a good idea.
I think it is.
That's a terrible idea.
Here's why I think it's a good idea and why it relates to zombies. Think about this. If there is something, and we've all seen it over the years, there's always been this fear of some toxin being released by the government by accident, or you remember a couple of years ago where people started having bad reactions to flu shots, that they started acting funny and they're like, oh God, what the hell happened? Or somebody eats something wrong, like with the mad cow disease, they were afraid of that. Eventually, if that does happen, here's why I think the purge would be a good idea in that certain situation. You'd have to separate the people eventually, like World War Z. You'd have to quarantine a certain part of the city. And then whoever's stuck over there, if they can make it back to the safe side, great. If not, they're fucked. Because you know very well, if there was an outbreak, let's say in the southern part of the United States, the government would shut that thing down.
The first person out of the country would be the president.
The government would shut that part down, put a huge fence over it and say, see you later.
Yeah.
And then we'd all be left, whoever was on this side, to kill each other off.
Here's the thing about zombie lore. It's going to happen. It's got to happen. And I'm a firm believer of it because medical, science, it's just a bunch of series of guesstimations.
They keep messing with stuff.
It's guessing from the beginning of medical experiments.
For all we know.
We think we know, and we've done experiments, but how do you come up with something?
Okay, but for all we know, as a general populace, for all we know, somewhere in one of our CDC labs, there is
a zombie strain.
There is a zombie strain.
Yeah.
And there probably is.
I mean,
if you really think about it, like, that's the thing. That's why chemical warfare is such a big scary thought, because you don't know. Yeah. Like, biological and chemical warfare, you don't know what other countries have. You don't know what we have.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you think about it, there's news stories popping up every day. We've cured HIV. Mm-hmm. We've cured HIV. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a huge story about this little girl who we cured HIV from.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we cured HIV, how many experiments went into figuring out the cure for HIV?
That's right.
How many experiments have gone into figuring out the cure for cancer?
Yeah. How many times did it take them, obviously, with 409? Yeah. Formula 409?
Yeah.
What about the other 408?
Right.
What the fuck did they do?
Well, right, but that's the thing. We don't know That's why, like, in superhero comics and shit, that's why most of it happens in a lab on accident.
Yeah.
Because shit like that could happen on accident.
Oh, yeah, it probably does, but we don't know about it.
And we think that everything's fine, you know, but this shit's happening in our backyard. You know how many A-bombs we let off in Nevada?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that radiation's right there in the west.
Yeah.
Well, that's why half the desert, like, that's why there's quarantined parts in the desert, because it's glass everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, from the fucking sand fusing together.
So that I think it's going to eventually happen. And maybe not in my lifetime, but, you know, I think it's a definite possibility.
It's not fiction. It's a definite possibility.
I think a lot of people, because of the glorification of it with Hollywood, I think they see it as, like, I will bring up one of my favorite movies, Dawn of the Living Dead. That was supposed to be like your version. They were dead already, and then they came back to life. That could also be a possibility, because
I don't know.
Think about it. How do we know that they don't do experiments on bringing people back to life?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure they do.
I'm sure.
There's no way they don't.
Right. But I'm a fan of the dead zombies, dead and slow.
But dead and slow, like, that's the thing, though. If the zombies are dead and slow, we're going to be fine. Because they're dead and slow.
I'm a fan of those, but I do see, like, I don't really care for the infected, fast, snarling, screaming zombies, but I do. That's how it's going to be.
If that's the way it's going to be, then we are fucked.
Yeah.
Because it's going to spread so rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to have to wrap this one up because Aaron Martin's actually got a job.
Yeah, Double A Ron has actually got to go to work.
And I got to go to the grocery store.
Everybody, if you're listening to this, give us your thoughts and survival plans about zombie apocalypse because it's happening. Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Lesson must be shared.